Undercover boss buys pizza at his own diner freezes when staff talks about secret rival. I told you Pizza Pronto wants Mama Rosa's dead, and if we play this right, we'll get 15 grand each. The words sliced through the air like a knife through warm dough. He froze behind a stack of sauce crates. They didn't know he was the owner, and they didn't know they'd just signed their own ruin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned until the very end of this story. You won't believe how this betrayal ends. I don't care what the numbers say, Tony Russo said, slamming the folder shut. That's not her pizza. The boardroom went silent. A dozen executives blinked at him, unsure whether to speak. But Angela, his CFO, leaned forward, gently tapping the quarterly report again. It's the Chicago flagship, she said. Revenues down 18%. Yelp's lighting us up with one-star reviews. They're saying the pizza tastes wrong. Tony stared past her out the window. The city skyline offered no comfort. This place was her dream, he murmured. We don't make food. We make family. On the wall behind him, a black and white photo of Rosa Russo smiled down at him, flour on her cheeks, holding a pizza like it was a newborn. His grandmother, his teacher, his fire. She used to say if a customer frowns after the first bite, Tony said, voice thick, you failed them before they even walked in the door. He turned. Get me a wig and an apron. I'm going to Chicago. Angela blinked. You mean like a corporate visit? I mean, I'm going undercover. Nobody knows. Not even regional management. I want to see what's killing my grandmother's legacy with my own eyes. The wig itched. The fake mustache was awful. The dyed brown hair made him look like a knockoff sitcom dad. But it worked. His name was Vince Moretti now, a 46-year-old former bartender from Joliet with a bad shoulder and worse luck. He'd picked up the limp on purpose. Back injury, he told anyone who asked. Long story. Don't lift boxes. He stood outside the original Mama Rosa's on Roosevelt Avenue, the one Rosa herself had opened in 1983. The paint on the awning had faded. The neon sign flickered, and there was graffiti on the back wall no one had bothered to scrub off. He swallowed hard. Inside, the smell of burnt mozzarella and old fryer oil greeted him like a slap. There was music playing hip-hop loud. The floors were sticky. Yo, new guy, a voice called. He turned. A waitress, late 20s, maybe tattoo sleeve on one arm and a pizza slicer in the other, looked him up and down. You're Vince? That's me. Sophia Delgado. I run front of house. Don't screw up my section. Grab an apron. No welcome, no warmth, just business. He put on the apron, kept his head down. A young cook shoved past him toward the ovens. Tall, buzz-cut, heavy-set. Dish duty, he growled. Don't talk, just scrub. Name tag, Marcus. Tony obeyed. By 7 p.m. the place was packed, but not in a good way. The staff moved like they hated being there. Orders got shouted. Food came out cold. The air smelled burnt. One table asked for Rosa's classic Mama Rosa's signature pizza. Tony's heart skipped. He watched as it came out. Thicker crust, wrong cheese, the sauce too pale. From across the room, he saw the customer take a bite frown, push the plate away. That look, it gutted him. He knew that look. That was the face of someone who came in hungry for home and left feeling cheated. He nearly vomited. They'd ruined Rosa's pizza. Later that night, most of the crew had gone home. Tony stayed behind mopping the back storage area when he heard them, Sophia and Marcus. They didn't know he was listening. He was in the dry stock corner behind a stack of flour bags. Their voices dropped low, but not low enough. "I told you. 15 grand each," Marcus whispered. "All we gotta do is send Monica the recipe doc and the VIP list." Tony's blood ran cold. Sophia's voice was nervous. "You think they'll actually pay?" "They already wired the first half. Liam said the rest comes when Pizza Pronto launches their new signature line, same damn pizza, just cheaper." There was a pause. "If Tony finds out," Sophia whispered. Marcus laughed. "He won't? The guy hasn't been seen in 6 months. You think that legacy boy CEO even remembers what mozzarella's supposed to taste like?" Tony's hand went to his chest. His voice recorder was there. He clicked it. Recording. Sophia again. Monica said Pizza Pronto's gonna offer her a directorship. Marketing VP. She's pulling the strings from the inside. Tony nearly collapsed. Monica Alvarez, Mama Rosa's own head of marketing, the face of the company, smiling in interviews, doing commercials. She was selling them out. That night back at the motel, Tony sat in silence. He played the recording 3 times. Then again. The words echoed in his chest. Pizza Pronto. Liam the manager. Sophia and Marcus on the take. And Monica, the inside mole. He picked up his phone, dialed a number he hadn't used in a year. "Elena," he whispered, "I need you. Now." The voice on the other end groaned. "Tony, it's 2 in the morning. I found a rat nest, and I need an exterminator." She was quiet for a beat. Then, "Give me 12 hours. And so it began. A CEO disguised as a dishwasher, a betrayal cooked in secret, and a recipe war about to explode. If this part shocked you, give this video a thumbs up. Coming up next, the investigation goes deeper. The betrayal spreads wider, and Tony Russo walks straight into a trap he didn't see coming. By the next morning, Tony, still wearing the mask of Vince Moretti, was already back in the kitchen filling the dishwasher and pretending not to listen. But now, he was listening to everything. Every grumble from Marcus, every side eye from Sophia, every passing comment about Monday's drop and Monica's next email. And most of all, every time the name Liam came up. Liam was the manager, 35, a self-declared marketing genius. His office door was always closed. He dressed too well for a store manager and never made eye contact. Tony noticed how he rarely came out unless someone needed scolding or signing off on a sketchy delivery, which is exactly what happened at 1:13 p.m. Tony was refilling the soda fridge when he saw Liam greet a man in a gray cargo van, unmarked. A large cardboard box changed hands. No one signed for it. Liam just nodded, disappeared back inside. The delivery was wheeled into the back dry storage without inventory check. Tony slipped in behind it, pretended to mop. Sophia whispered to Marcus, "That's the cheese from Pronto's supplier. You sure look at the label. Bianchini and Sons. That's their cheap blend." Liam said not to log it. Tony crouched fake mopping, recording everything on his hidden mic. They weren't just stealing recipes. They were swapping ingredients. That night, he called Elena from the walk-in freezer. The cold air cut through his bones, but he didn't care. His heart was boiling. "Elena, it's worse than we thought. They're using off-brand cheese. They're laundering it through fake vendor drops. You've got photos?" "Not yet. I need access to Liam's laptop. That's where the transfers are happening." There was a pause. Then the calm, surgical voice he remembered from their old crisis days. "Elena Martinez," she said, "does not hack halfway." Tony smiled. "Talk soon." 2 days later, Elena was in Chicago. She showed up posing as a pest control inspector. clipboard blue gloves, and a fake badge that said Midwest Sanitation Review. Even Liam didn't question her. While she inspected the office, she inserted a flash drive into the back of his desktop tower. 3 minutes. That's all she needed. By sunset, she had everything. Transfer logs, email chains, encrypted messages between Monica and Pizza Pronto's executive VP, Carlo Bianchi, invoices showing bulk purchases of ingredients under a false supplier ID, and one message that made Tony's hands shake. Once we tank Mama Rosa's stock by Q3, we buy out the brand. Tony won't see it coming. Long live Pizza Pronto. Monica Alvarez, back at the motel. Tony and Elena sat in silence. Pizza boxes open, cold. Neither was hungry. She was in the family, Tony whispered. She used to cry at company retreats when we showed old videos of Nona. Elena didn't respond at first. Then she said, "Some people cry for the camera, others cry at the cutting board." Tony leaned back. What would Rosa do? Elena gave a crooked smile. She'd bake them a pie and hide a hammer in the crust. Back at the store, things got stranger. Liam became more erratic. Marcus snapped at staff constantly. Sophia's hands trembled when she keyed in orders. Something was unraveling. Tony noticed something else. A busser named Carlos, a skinny 19-year-old with bad acne and a big heart, was constantly left to clean the worst messes. But he never complained, and one day Tony caught him trying to make the classic dough from scratch using a worn-out copy of the actual recipe. Carlos froze when Tony caught him. "Don't fire me," he whispered. "I just wanted to see if it could still taste like how my dad remembered it." Tony stared at him. "Your dad? He used to come here in the 90s. He said this place saved his life after his mom died. Rosa Russo gave him a free pizza every Friday until he could smile again." Tony didn't speak. He just reached forward and tasted the dough. Still rough, but close. He clapped Carlos on the back. "You're not fired," he said softly. "You're the only one who remembers what this place is supposed to be." That night, Tony wrote in his notebook. He scribbled names. Enemies: Monica Alvarez, Liam, Marcus, Bianchini and Sons, Carlo Bianchi. Loyal: Carlos, Elena. His grandmother's legacy. The next day, Marcus slipped, and Tony caught it on audio. He was talking to Liam near the freezer, thinking no one else was around. "Monica says next week we start leaking rumors about ingredient contamination. Push it hard on Twitter, use fake Yelp accounts. Tell the press Mama Rosa's quality is slipping." "Will people believe it?" Liam asked. "Already do. The customers know it doesn't taste right." They both laughed. Tony wasn't laughing. He was done recording. He was ready to fight. Elena arrived at the store that evening after hours. She handed Tony a flash drive and an envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "Your smoking gun. Email logs, money transfers, voice-to-text transcripts, and this," she tapped the envelope, "is your fake recipe." Tony opened it. Basil heavy, salt doubled, cheap tomato paste instead of San Marzano. It'll look real, smell real, taste like cardboard. The moment they steal it, they go down. Tony grinned. "Let's bake some justice. Don't forget to comment below, what would you do if your own staff tried to destroy your family's legacy? And stick around." In part 3, Tony sets the trap. But he's not the only one watching, and the betrayal goes even deeper than he imagined. "They took the bait," Elena whispered. "Good," Tony replied. "Now we just wait and let the cheese curdle." If this part had your heart racing, hit that like button and share it with someone who loves justice served hot. Part 3 is where we flip the oven and the plot. Monday morning, Tony walked into Mama Rosa's wearing the same scuffed boots and faded hoodie. But something had changed in his posture. This wasn't Vince the dishwasher anymore. This was Tony Russo, armed to the teeth with truth. He'd uploaded the fake next-gen Rosa's recipe onto a dummy internal folder labeled 2025 R&D. Confidential. He made sure it looked like it was accidentally left unlocked on Liam's desktop. And as expected, it took exactly 26 minutes for Liam to access it. Elena watched remotely from the motel room software, tracking every click, every copied file, every forwarded email. "He just sent it to Monica," she said, "and CC'd someone at Pizza Pronto." "It's showtime," Tony replied. At 5:00 p.m., Pizza Pronto launched a teaser campaign for their all-new artisan pizza experience. Tony nearly choked on his coffee. The ad was bright red with gold trim. It read, "Coming this Friday. The Supreme Italiano, inspired by tradition, perfected by Pronto." He zoomed in. The pizza in the photo. It was a knockoff version of Rosa's classic, only this time made with the sabotaged salt-heavy sauce from Tony's planted recipe. It was like watching someone stage a magic trick only with dynamite instead of doves. At Mama Rosa's, the team felt the tension. Marcus was cocky, bragging to Sophia. "Monica says the ad's already getting traction. Once Friday hits, we'll blow up." Sophia didn't look convinced. In fact, she looked pale. Tony caught her near the walk-in fridge. "Long day?" he asked casually. She glanced at him. "You ever do something that felt right in the moment, but wrong afterward?" Tony gave a small nod. Truth has a way of aging badly when it's built on lies. Her hands trembled slightly. She looked like she wanted to say more. But Marcus called her from the front. Sophia turned away. Friday morning arrived. Tony sat in a booth across the street in a different Mama Rosa's location, one that hadn't been touched by corruption. His disguise was off. He wore a crisp suit, hair combed, wedding ring back on. Elena sat across from him with her laptop open. "Pizza Pronto just launched," she said. "It's going viral, but for the wrong reasons." Tony blinked. "What do you mean?" She turned the screen. "Twitter. WTF is this salt bomb? New Pizza Pronto is disgusting. Tastes like someone dumped a bouillon cube into tomato soup. Bring back the old flavor. This is a crime." Yelp reviews followed. 1-star explosions. Then a food critic from Chicago Tribune posted Pizza Pronto's new Supreme Italiano is an assault on the taste buds. Not only is it offensively salty, but it also bears a suspicious resemblance to Mama Rosa's legendary Rosa Classic. If this is theft, it's amateur hour theft. Tony leaned back. They took the bait. He stood and buttoned his jacket. "Elena," he said, "I'm going in." "Alone?" she asked. He turned toward the street. Not exactly. 5:42 p.m. Mama Rosa's flagship Chicago store. Tony walked in, past the red vinyl booths, past the old jukebox that still played Dean Martin, and right into the manager's office. Liam was there sitting with Monica Alvarez and Carlo Bianchi from Pizza Pronto. They froze when they saw him. He wasn't Vince anymore. He was Tony Russo, CEO, grandson, owner. Monica stood up too fast. Her chair scraped across the tile. "Tony," she said, voice shaky, "I didn't know you'd be." I'm sure he cut her off. "You didn't know I'd be back, or that I'd be listening, or watching, or recording." He tapped a remote. From the hallway, Elena entered with a tablet in hand. On screen, every audio recording, every email transfer, every intercepted wire payment. Liam went pale. Carlo tried to speak. "You've made a mistake." Tony raised a hand. "No, you made a mistake. You thought I'd let my grandmother's legacy burn without a fight." Monica stepped forward. "Tony, I only did it because what he barked, because you wanted a promotion, a bigger office, a slice of a company that doesn't have her name on the door." Behind him, the kitchen door creaked. Sophia stood there, quiet, shaking. "I'll testify," she said softly. Everyone turned to her. "I'll tell the police everything. Monica, Liam, Marcus, even myself. Just please let me do the right thing for once." Tony nodded once. "Then start now." That night, police arrived. Monica was arrested for corporate espionage and fraud. Liam and Marcus were handcuffed, escorted out in silence. Carlo Bianchi tried to claim diplomatic business rights. Didn't work. Elena had already sent the files to the feds. Pizza Pronto's stock crashed by 16% in 24 hours. Back at the quiet store, Tony sat at table 6. Carlos, the young busser, brought him a plate. One Rosa's classic. Made with the real cheese, the real sauce, the real love. Tony took a bite. It was warm, balanced, just like he remembered, and across from him, Rosa's photo smiled again. Only this time, it was Tony who smiled back. 3 days later, Mama Rosa's national office held a press conference. It was supposed to be short. It wasn't. The crowd of journalists, food critics, former employees, and shareholders packed the ballroom of the Rosa headquarters in Chicago. Microphones lined the table. TV vans lined the street. Tony Russo stood in front of a backdrop featuring the original Mama Rosa logo, flour faded hand-drawn a slice lifted by a grandmother's loving hand. He adjusted the mic. First he said, "I want to talk about my grandmother." Silence fell. She came here from Naples with nothing but a rolling pin and a recipe in her head. She used to say pizza wasn't food, it was family on a plate. Tony took a breath. "And last week, someone tried to poison that family." The crowd murmured. He gestured to the screens behind him. Email screenshots, wire transfer logs, Pizza Pronto's marketing leaks, and at the center, Monica Alvarez, former head of marketing, current federal detainee. Tony continued, "She betrayed this company, along with several employees at our flagship store. But this is not a funeral. It's a rebirth." Applause broke out, and then he dropped the real bombshell. "All Mama Rosa's locations will temporarily close for a 72-hour retraining and ingredient audit. Every manager will work the line. Every executive will serve customers. Starting with me." The room exploded, and Tony, he just smiled. Because if you want to fix something, he said, you get your hands in the dough. Over the next 3 days, Tony visited 8 locations, drove over 700 miles, slept in motel rooms, washed dishes, took orders, and most of all, he listened to cooks who had gone unheard, to servers who'd seen tip fraud, to customers who missed the old sauce, and it changed him. Back in Chicago, he returned to the original store, the scene of the betrayal. It looked different now, cleaner, brighter. Carlo stood at the front in a crisp new uniform. Sophia was behind the counter, hair tied back, apron tied tight. She met Tony's eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said, "but I'm asking for a job." Tony nodded slowly. "You'll earn it, one table at a time." Inside the kitchen, Tony donned a new apron, not branded, not pressed. It was Rosa's, Stained, frayed, loved. He hung it on the prep hook above the oven. Then he looked at Carlos. "You said your dad used to come here," Tony asked. Carlos nodded. "Yeah, he said Rosa saved him." Tony smiled. "Then let's save someone else." They made the dough by hand, let it proof for 72 hours, blended the sauce with fresh basil and slow-roasted garlic, sliced the mozzarella straight from the Wisconsin wheel. When the first Rosa's Classic came out of the oven, Tony placed it in the warmer and wrote one word on the order slip, "Legacy." The next morning, customers lined up outside. Someone had spread the word Tony Russo was making pizza himself. And they came. Old men who remembered Rosa, young couples who met here on first dates, even a few who once left bad reviews but were ready to come back. And Tony served them, one by one. No suits, no speeches, just slices. At 3:47 p.m., a boy walked in, 16 maybe, awkward, hungry, quiet. Tony approached with a smile. "Can I get you something?" The boy pulled out a wallet, worn, empty. "I saw online you guys were giving free slices to anyone with a Rosa story." Tony nodded. "What's yours?" The boy paused. "My mom worked here. Long time ago. Said Rosa gave her her first real paycheck. Helped her pay for night school. She's a nurse now. Told me to come see the place if it ever reopened." Tony looked at him. Then he reached under the counter and slid him 2 slices and a soda. "Your mom fed this place with hard work," Tony said. "Now it's time we fed you." That night, as the storefront lights dimmed, Tony sat in the booth nearest the ovens. Sophia sat across from him. Carlos cleaned quietly in the background. "You think this lasts?" she asked. Tony considered. "I think what we cook matters, but how we treat people, that's the real recipe." She looked down. "I'm sorry, Tony. For everything." He nodded. "You did the wrong thing. But you're here now. That counts for something." Back at corporate, Elena sent out the final report. Monica, awaiting sentencing. Liam and Marcus, permanently banned from the food industry. Pizza Pronto, under federal investigation for industrial theft. Mama Rosa's trending on TikTok, under the tag, "Real Rosa Returns." Tony walked into her office and dropped a warm pizza box on her desk. She opened it. Inside was the Rosa Classic with extra basil. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled. "Your finder's fee." 3 weeks later. The 72-hour reset had turned into a full-on movement. Across the country, Mama Rosa's locations were reopening with a new mission: 1. Every store manager must work 2 shifts a month on the floor. 2. All ingredient vendors must be publicly listed. 3. Tip transparency and direct profit sharing for all frontline employees. And at the heart of it, a new motto, "Made by Family." For family. In Chicago, things had changed. The flagship store glowed again. Carlos had been promoted to kitchen supervisor. Sophia had completed a mandatory ethics retraining, but now ran staff onboarding, sharing her own story of betrayal and redemption. Even the customers had changed. More loyal, more patient, more engaged. They knew they weren't just eating pizza. They were eating history. Back at HQ, Tony stood alone in his grandmother's old office. The walls still smelled faintly of oregano and cedar. He ran his fingers along the edge of the worn wooden desk where she used to write out her orders by hand. Taped to the underside of the desk was a note in Rosa's handwriting. Tony hadn't seen it in years. "Never stop cooking, never stop listening. Never let anyone change your recipe unless it's to add more love." He sat down. For the first time, He felt at peace. And yet, he also felt something else. Possibility. He called Elena. "Let's go national," he said. "We already are," she replied. "No, I mean deeper. Let's create a Mama Rosa's Foundation, give culinary scholarships, open community kitchens in underserved cities, teach kids how to cook before they ever learn to sell." Elena was quiet. Then your grandmother would cry. Tony smiled. She'd cry and then yell at me for not adding enough garlic. 1 week later, Tony returned to the original store. A surprise ribbon cutting was underway. Carlos stood by the new sign freshly installed above the door. It now read, "Mama Rosa's Heart, home of the Rosa Classic, and so much more." Tony approached wearing a white apron and a simple black T-shirt. The crowd clapped as he stepped forward. But instead of cutting the ribbon, he handed the scissors to Carlos. "You open it," Tony said. Carlos hesitated. "Me? You earned it." The crowd counted down. Carlos cut the ribbon, the door opened, and Mama Rosa's was reborn. That afternoon, a special table was set near the front window. A plaque on the wall above it read, "Table 3, Rosa's Table. Reserved for anyone who needs a hot meal, no questions asked." The first customer to sit there was a mother and her 2 kids. They didn't have much, but they left with full bellies, warm hearts, and free pizza. Tony watched from behind the counter and felt Rosa's presence everywhere. Later that night, Tony took the last Rosa's Classic of the day and sat outside on the bench under the neon sign. A little boy wandered up, maybe 7 years old. He stared at the pizza in Tony's hand. "Is that the real one?" Tony looked at him. "The real what? The real Rosa pizza," the boy said. "My grandpa said it used to taste like being safe." Tony offered him a slice. "Want to find out?" The boy nodded, bit in, closed his eyes, and smiled. "That's it," he whispered. Tony felt his throat tighten. He looked up at the stars. "Thanks, Nona." The next morning, Tony woke early. He brewed coffee, opened the back door of the store, and stepped into the alley where it all began. This used to be where Rosa dumped her flour sacks, where she gave leftover crust to the stray cats, where she taught Tony how to knead dough with his elbows when he broke his wrist. He pulled out his phone, typed a caption, 12 stores closed, 3 arrests, 1 heart still beating. Mama Rosa's isn't a chain, it's a circle, and you're all part of it. He hit post. Within an hour, the photo had gone viral. Within a week, Rosa's Circle program had received over 2,000 applications from young cooks, single parents, veterans, immigrants, people hungry to learn to belong to serve. Tony watched the numbers roll in, but he didn't care about numbers anymore. He cared about names, faces, stories, like Sophia's, like Carlos's, like Rosa's, and now, like his own. If this ending touched your heart, leave a comment. Long live Rosa. And if you want more real-life stories that make you believe in second chances, subscribe, because this is just the beginning.